What if a judge had to decide whether Santa Claus is real? In a real courtroom. This is the 1947 classic, Miracle on 34th Street, a Christmas movie. It is a heartwarming story that explores the tension between cold logic and the lovely intangibles of faith and imagination. The story begins in New York City on Thanksgiving Day. Doris Walker, a no-nonsense executive at Macy's department store, is in charge of the famous Thanksgiving Day parade. When the man hired to play Santa shows up drunk, Doris is desperate. Just when everything is about to fall apart, she meets a kind, elderly man with a natural white beard who calls himself Kris Kringle. He steps in, and he's so perfect that Macy's hires him to be their permanent store Santa. Kris is unlike any other Santa. Instead of pushing parents to buy expensive toys at Macy's, he tells them where they can find the toys cheaper, even if it's at their rival store, Gimbel's. Doris is sure this honesty will get him fired. But the opposite happens. Customers love him. Macy's becomes a hero, and suddenly, the Christmas spirit turns into the best business strategy they've ever had. While Kris spreads joy at the store, he faces a quiet challenge at home. Doris has raised her daughter, Susan, to be a strict realist. No fairy tales, no make-believe, and definitely no believing in Santa Claus. To Susan, Santa is just a story. To Kris, that's the saddest thing in the world. Kris takes it upon himself to open Susan's heart to imagination. A powerful moment comes when Susan sees Kris speaking fluent Dutch to a young orphan girl. The girl's face lights up, and for the first time, Susan begins to suspect that Kris might actually be the real deal. So she decides to test him. Instead of asking for toys, Susan shares a secret wish: a real house. A cozy Dutch colonial home in the suburbs, with a backyard and a big tree for a swing. She tells Kris, "If you can give me this house, I'll believe in you. If not, you're just a nice old man." Meanwhile, not everyone is charmed. The store's cynical psychologist, Granville Sawyer, decides Kris is dangerous and delusional. He manipulates the situation and gets Kris committed to Bellevue Hospital. But Kris isn't alone. Doris's neighbor and hopeful suitor, Fred Gailey, believes in him. Determined to save Kris, Fred takes the case to court. Suddenly, the question becomes national news. Can a court of law prove that Santa Claus exists? The judge knows. If he rules against Santa, he'll be the most hated man in New York. The climax of the movie happens in this courtroom. Fred finds a brilliant solution. He argues that if the United States Post Office, a federal government agency, delivers mail addressed to Santa Claus to Kris Kringle, then the government itself has recognized him as the real Santa. In an unforgettable scene, thousands of letters to Santa are carried into the courtroom and dumped onto the judge's desk. Overwhelmed, the judge accepts this as proof. The case is dismissed. Kris is free. And officially, Santa Claus wins. On Christmas morning, Doris lets herself believe again, and Susan's Christmas wish for a real home comes true in a perfectly magical way. Doris and Fred, slowly realizing that this might be more than coincidence, they admit their feelings for each other, and a new family quietly begins. Then one last detail. Fred spots a cane resting in the corner, a cane that looks exactly like the one Kris carries. The film ends on that tiny object and one big question: was he really Santa after all? Miracle on 34th Street is beautiful because it's about kindness, integrity, and the courage to believe in something you can't fully explain.